and welcome to Syncopated Saturday Night, presented by the Scott Joplin International Ragtime Foundation. My name is Bryan Wright. I'm the Artistic Director for the Scott Joplin Ragtime Festival, and it's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you tonight to what I think is going to be a pretty special hour of music ahead. This is the fourth of these Syncopated Saturday Night concerts we've presented, and to take nothing away from what we've heard so far, I have to say tonight is pretty special. I've gotten a sneak peek and I think you're in store for a real treat. So if you have family or friends who aren't already tuned into this broadcast, I would encourage you to take a moment now and either pick up the phone or send them a text message, whatever it takes to get them to tune in. They'll thank you, I thank you, and you'll be glad you did. So who do we have tonight? We're going to be hearing from Martin Spitznagel and then Mimi Blais, two of the top ragtime pianists in the world today, both of them with unique styles, with just absolute paramount musicianship. I think you're going to enjoy this. Before we get started though, a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, tonight's concert is being presented for the benefit of the musicians that you see. If you enjoy the music you hear tonight, I encourage you to visit the Scott Joplin Foundation's website, which is www.scottjoplin.org/donate, and send a few bucks. It'll help out the musicians you see tonight. All money collected will be divided among the performers that you see. I know many musicians these days are struggling in the wake of this pandemic. They've been out of work, they haven't gone and played the usual festivals that they do. So this will help make up for some of that lost income. So thank you for being as generous as you can. Second, some of you have been asking, there will be no in-person Scott Joplin Festival this year. The decision was made to call that off because we just don't know what the COVID situation will look like in early June. Commitments needed to be made now, and it wasn't possible to do that. So we regrettably had to cancel this year's festival, but in place of the usual in-person festival in Sedalia, I invite you to join us here on the internet, where we will have a 2-day mini festival online featuring symposia, performances from musicians you know and love, and maybe a few new surprises. That will be on June 4th and June 5th, a Friday and Saturday. So go ahead and mark your calendars now, June 4th and June 5th, and join us for the Scott Joplin Foundation's online mini festival. I promise it'll be a lot of fun. Also, I want to notify you that you can be notified of future videos in this concert series by simply subscribing to the Scott Joplin Foundation's YouTube channel. You probably already know how to do that. Depending on what you're watching me on, the link is either below or maybe it's to the side. Wherever. Did I just say to the side? I'm not going to retake this. I'm just going to say to the side. And subscribe, and you'll be notified when there are new concerts in this series. That's about it for me. It's my pleasure now to welcome a good friend of mine who is actually not too far away from me, but I haven't had a chance to see him because of this blasted pandemic. Martin Spitznagel, who has been playing ragtime for I think just about as long as he's been around. He is a composer, he is a pianist, he is a father of 3 amazing kids, his wonderful wife Jess as well. You've probably met all of them at a past festival, and you know the treat you're in store for. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to my friend and a remarkable pianist, Martin Spitznagel.
Hello, Syncopated Saturday Night. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be seen. It's so good to wear pants again. Thanks for joining us tonight for this program of syncopation exploration. I'm Martin Spitznagel, and thank you, Bryan, very much for that wonderful introduction. I miss you, bud. Give that baby a squeeze for me, and Yuko too. I'm going to play some tunes for you tonight that I love, the ones that have been keeping me company in a time of real uncertainty. And actually, that's very true to form, because this music was written, you figure, during World War I and Great Depression and just all kinds of, pandemics. The very first pandemic, the Spanish flu, this was the soundtrack, this music, ragtime and jazz and stride piano. So in a way, we're really getting very method with this. The first tune I'm going to play for you is one of my favorites. And since I'm on this wonderful program with Mimi Blais, a brilliant classical musician and ragtime musician, of course, I thought I would start with a classical rag. So this is Mimi Blais's Classical Rag. Thank you very much. U.B. Blake's classical rag. You know, I play a lot of U.B. Blake's music. He was a huge influence on me, and just something about his music really speaks to me. And he had a number of people that he took under his wing upon his rediscovery there in the 60s and 70s. And one of those gentlemen was named Terry Waldo. Is named Terry Waldo, and probably will be Terry Waldo until further notice. Terry lives in New York, and he's a well-known performer in our little corner of the world. And he's also a brilliant composer, and I think a really underrated composer. I was thinking about the last year, and, you know, 2020 was just really Really? I can't say not even on a Saturday night? What about Okay. I've been informed that I can tell you that 2020 was a very crummy year. Happy? So, 2020, kiss my Here is Terry Waldo's Proctology. Thank you. I hope you're clapping and not writing letters to your senator. Next up, I wanted to play a tune by another musician who was greatly influenced by U.B. Blake, and that is James P. Johnson, the father of stride piano. There's this wonderful story that UB told about how he used to play the piano in a club in Atlantic City. One day on UB's break, in between sets, this boy came up and said, "Mr. Blake, would you mind if I played during your break?" And UB was like, "Oh, you play?" And so the boy sat down and just tore through one of UB's compositions, and it turns out that young man was James P. Johnson. And so here is one of Jimmy's most famous pieces. It was sort of a stride showpiece and kind of a rite of passage for stride pianists. And I realized I've been playing the piano now for years, and I've never actually learned Carolina Shout until now. Here it is, James P. Johnson's Carolina Shout. All right, Carolina Shout by James P. Johnson. Thanks so much. I realize I've been thanking you for your applause at the end of each piece, and I'm only assuming that you're applauding because I'm sitting here hoping that somebody is watching this, and it's not just, me staring into the abyss of the camera lens, pouring myself out into the ether and dissipating like a cloud of just meaningless gas. It's been a rough year. But we're getting there. The next piece I want to play for you is one of mine, actually. It's a piece that was influenced by UB, but also by a pianist named Billy Mayerl. And this is a piece I've been playing for a long time, and I love it, and it's one of my favorites to share. And this is a tune I wrote for my grandmother, and it's called Teresa's Novelette by me. That was Teresa's Novelette by me, a younger version of me, a very sentimental and romantic version of me. And when I played that tune for my grandmother before she passed, she said, "Martin, I feel like I've known it my whole life." Speaking of people who've loved us into being, I had a real privilege a couple years ago. The Scott Joplin Foundation wanted to honor Larry and Karen Melton for their contributions to starting the Scott Joplin Festival and supporting it over the years. So they commissioned me to write a piece for Larry and Karen Melton, and in memory of Karen, and it's called "Melt Into You." And so typically I would, finish with a bang, but instead I'm going to leave you with some pensive thoughts and some thanks to Larry Melton and Karen Melton and all of the fans and patrons and silent supporters who have made it possible for people like me and my friends to do this and enjoy this and share the music we love. So, thank you. Here we go. "Melt Into You" by me for Larry and Karen Melton. All right, friends, that's all from me. Thanks so much for spending this part of your Saturday night with me and my piano. Thanks to the Scott Joplin Foundation and Mimi Blais and Bryan Wright, and for your support. Really appreciate it. And until we get to be together again in person, may all your Saturdays be syncopated. Bye-bye.
Wow. Martin, there's just no words. That was absolutely beautiful. Isn't it amazing how many different moods and feelings can be evoked by just this one instrument in the hands of a master like Martin Spitznagel? And to think, just a few days ago I was talking to Martin and he said, "Bryan, I'm a little worried. I haven't played in over a year and I think I'm a little out of shape." You never know it from that. A fantastic performance from Martin Spitznagel. And in just a moment we'll have another fantastic performance from Mimi Blais. I know you'll enjoy that, but before we get to it, a quick reminder that if you're enjoying tonight's program, I'd encourage you to send a little money to the Scott Joplin Foundation, which will be distributed among the musicians you see in tonight's program. I know there have been no festivals, there have been no concerts this past year, many of those missed opportunities for income that these musicians rely upon. So thank you for being generous. You can throw a few dollars our way by going to www.scottjoplin.org/donate. Again, that's www.scottjoplin.org/donate. If you don't feel like using your credit card to pay online, you can also mail a check. The address is on the website. One more time, www.scottjoplin.org/donate. Thank you very much. Before we continue with tonight's program, I'd like to play you a little something. I've been listening a lot to the music of James Scott, one of the big three ragtime composers who also came out of Missouri, and I've been thinking to myself that the perfect word to describe James Scott's music is exuberant. It's just joyous, fun, freewheeling music, and so I'd like to play for you his New Era rag from the year 1919. Fairly late for ragtime, and it shows a little of the influence of jazz that was coming into the public consciousness at that time. So a little something different now, a little something fun. Here's the New Era rag by James Scott. That's the New Era Rag by James Scott from the year 1919, one of my very favorites to play. It's just so joyful. Well, before we continue with tonight's performances, I'd like to send a quick reminder out to all of you that there will be no Scott Joplin Festival in Sedalia, Missouri this year. The lingering effects of the pandemic have caused us to cancel it, but in its place, we're very pleased to be offering you an online mini-festival on June 4th and June 5th. So go ahead and mark your calendars. That's Friday and Saturday, June 4th and June 5th, for a series of programs presented right here on YouTube. We'll have symposia, we'll have concerts. The performer lineup hasn't been established just yet, so stay tuned. We'll let you know more about that as the weeks ahead unfold. But in the meantime, mark it down, June 4th and June 5th. We'll see you here for the online mini Ragtime Festival. Okay, now without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to a remarkable pianist from Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. You've heard her many times at the Scott Joplin Festival and in concerts around the United States and really around the world. She's a versatile musician who can play ragtime, who can play classical music, who can play jazz. She's also a superb comedian. If you've never seen her impersonation of Jean-Baptiste Lafrenière, you've really missed something. I can't wait till the day we can all be together again and hear Mimi Blais in person. But in the meantime, I'm so pleased that she can join us today from Montreal. So Mimi, welcome to Syncopated Saturday Night. Thank you for being here, and everyone else, enjoy the show.
Hi. Hi. Hello, la gang. How are you guys? Wow, that's quite a feeling this morning to record for you because I didn't play since last March. Could you believe that? Last March 2020, I was on tour in California, Arizona, and then emergency come back to Quebec because there's a pandemic going on, and here we are, almost a year later. Wow. Yeah, wow. That's really wow. Hi, and welcome in my home. And tonight performance, the one you're gonna see me performing, was made at the Cultural Center in NDG, Montreal, where I live. And thanks to them, because I have to introduce you to my very old friend, Willie. But in fact, it's Willis. It's my... But my poor Willis has a little pandemic feeling, you know, he's very out of tune and have problems. And anyway, so thank you for the Cultural Center that I could do these recording, these videos for you. And the first song was Gillen Will's beautiful Creeks of Missouri, and I would love to continue with the king of ragtime, Scott Joplin. And thanks to Scott Joplin, because it's because of him if I discovered the beautiful world of ragtime music. So here's the beautiful Bethina Waltz, concert waltz, Scott Joplin. You know what I love about this beautiful waltz is you can hear, that was 1905. And right there at that moment, you can hear some passages that he was thinking about his opera, Tremonisha, already. Yes. Great Joplin. Wonderful genius of music. That's the only thing I can play. Now let's hear some great folk ragtime by the giant of modern folk rag, Mr. Trevor Tischner, Buck, Snort, Stomp. Yeah. I love that song. Tuxedo, want to tell you that I'm going to play a very beautiful number by the grandfather of jazz. But he always said, I always played ragtime. Here's from Mimi Blais, the beautiful Memories of You. just love that number. Mimi Blais. For my last choice for tonight is a beautiful composition by Jack Bradshaw from California, and it's called Country Rag. I would like to dedicate this country rag. When I see it or hear it the first time, I was thinking country, the fields, the cows, the beautiful flowers, but right now I think about that song more for all the countries in the world who are fighting against this microbic microbes war, the COVID. And I want to dedicate to a lot of people who lost friends and family, relatives, and who died, you know. All the people who died in the US and Canada, everywhere in the world we're fighting. A year ago, I was thinking if somebody asked me which song I want to play for the rest of my life, I have the choice of one song only. That will be it. This beautiful Country Rag by Jack Bradshaw. Thank you for being here tonight, and I hope to see you next year at the Joplin Festival. Thank you. Merci Céline, my little roommate who's filming. Bye.
Wow. Thank you, Mimi, for a very moving, beautiful performance. That country rag by Jack Bradshaw is just beautiful. And I've never heard Bethina played quite like that, but I liked it a lot. That was really exquisite. Thank you, Mimi Blais. Before we leave Mimi, she has asked me to pass along her thanks to some of the folks who helped to make her part of tonight's program possible, in particular the Cultural Center NDG in Montreal, along with Guillaume Jabour, Mylène Robillard, Simon Deschaspes, Jean-Simon Lavallée, and Alexis Rieu. Thank you to these people for helping to prepare Mimi's part of tonight's program. I'd like to thank Martin Spitznagel and Mimi Blais for their fine performances tonight. Hasn't this been a terrific hour? I'd also like to thank the folks of the Scott Joplin Ragtime Foundation, Bob Walters, Chris Robinson, Deb Bierman, Kathleen Boswell, many others who work behind the scenes to help make these Syncopated Saturday Nights programs possible. I'd especially like to thank all of you for tuning in and joining us on these Saturday evenings. Where would we be without any of you to cheer us on? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for telling your family and friends about these programs. And thank you for your donations that do so much to help these musicians in this time of need when they've been out of musical work for months, actually years now. If you haven't contributed and you'd like to do so, please visit www.scottjoplin.org/donate. That's www.scottjoplin.org/donate. Be as generous as you can. The musicians thank you. The Scott Joplin Foundation thanks you. I thank you. And with your support, we'll be able to continue doing these programs in the months ahead. Don't forget about the online Scott Joplin Ragtime Foundation's mini festival, June 4th and June 5th. Mark your calendars now. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be right here on the internet where you can join in from your own home or wherever you happen to be. That's June 4th and June 5th. Well, that's about all for me. I've got a little one running around here who needs to go to bed, so I will sign off for now. Thank you again for tuning in and joining us. I hope to see you back here next time for another Syncopated Saturday Night. Till then, take care. Good night.